Hey friends. So I just uh, just came off the call for day 2 of this meditation training that we did as part of our teacher training for Madeline's Art of Practicing course. And there was something really beautiful that came up. And it kind of came up yesterday, but then it was emphasized again today. And it's funny because I almost did a post on this yesterday, but I'm glad that I didn't, because it sort of sank in to another level over the course of the night and then today's session. Because at one point, sort of towards the end, we were talking about, Bill, the teacher, was talking about the nature of non-conceptual mind, which is basically mind, the state of awareness without the layers of compulsive thought and self-image and all the kind of baggage that we have accumulated. And he talked about how Chögyam Trungpa, his teacher, and I've talked about him several times on this post, and I've read, I'd say, about 1.5 of his books now. He talked about profound states of creative immersion, what we call like flow states, or being in the zone, or that sort of transported feeling that we watch artists and performers go into sometimes. Sometimes maybe we've experienced these ourselves, but there's a way that, because I've been reading about and kind of fascinated by these states for years. I remember the first time I really kind of came across it was, I read a book called Body, Mind, and Sport when I was about 17 years old. And it was about athletic training. It was written by a triathlete. And he talked about how he began a meditation practice, and his meditation practice ultimately started to inform his athletic performance, and it vastly increased his performance. But it was all about getting into a state of flow, a state of ease, a state of non-effortful performance. And at this point, this is whatever. I mean, wow, is it really like almost 30 years ago that I read this book? That's kind of crazy, but I think in that amount of time, this has become kind of mainstream thinking. Everybody knows about flow states. Everybody knows about the zone. Everybody knows about their peak performance states. But even that name, peak performance, that's a good one. That's a good one to keep in mind, because I have always conceived of those states as being the sort of crowning achievement of good discipline, of proper practice. Like, that's where we're going. One day, at the end of all this drudgery and like painstaking practice, there will be the effortless flow state. It's almost like the Christian heaven of the self-improvement universe. One day it'll all be so easy that that it's just so easy. It's just effortless, and everything happens the way you think of it. And I can only speak for myself. I mean, I think that this is maybe kind of a cultural thing, but I'll speak for myself and say I imbue those states with this sort of reverential extraordinariness, this sort of like unexpressible level of admiration and respect, and the people who can go there are like, oh my God, they're gods. And what Trungpa said about these states is that they are the most ordinary state for a human mind to be in. There's nothing extraordinary about them. They are the natural state of the mind when it's not cluttered with all the shit. And that's really helpful for me to hear, for someone like me to hear, because again, going back to like what I've kind of talked about over the past few weeks, my ego has a real desire to be special, to be extraordinary, to be amazing. And the flow state, unfettered access to the flow state, my perception, my conception of this non-conceptual state is that it's really advanced and really amazing. And if you can go there, you're awesome. And that in and of itself is a totally ridiculous, almost contradictory conception of what's happening, and furthermore, really unhelpful, because it allows my ego to hold on tight to the sense of amazingness. I'm special, I'm great. And it then takes that amazingness and requires ongoing affirmation of that every step of the way. So now I have to be progressing towards this great thing, when actually what really should be happening is all the clutter and shit and notions of amazingness should be subsiding and going away, so that a perfectly ordinary, non-conceptual state of mind can emerge. And then I can play the piano from there, or write from there, or whatever needs to happen can happen from a state of just simplicity and ease, and not be amazing. It doesn't need to be that's something that I impose, and that I think, again, culturally we impose on these states that are actually the most natural state for a mind to be in, and it's quite unnatural, the state that our mind generally finds itself in. So that's flipping that for myself is really helpful, because it helps me intellectually subvert my intellectual tendency to kind of to think of these states with reverence and turn them into this lofty goal. Because I think, again, I can now see how my striving for that, and my the frustration that I experience on the way to that is due to the fact that I'm looking for that thing to verify something about me that it doesn't mean that. That's not what it means. That's not what it is. So I've got all these criteria that I'm hoping it will fulfill, and I'm actually chasing the wrong thing. I'm chasing a concept of something non-conceptual, and the concept is erroneous. How quick do we think progress is going to be when we're going that way? So that was just a really helpful kind of reframe and switch flip in my perspective that came out today. I was really grateful for it, and I think it's something that I'm certainly gonna maybe even build explicitly into my practice, in whatever the practice is, whether it's meditation, whether it's piano. There's a kind of it immediately informs how I want to engage with Annalise and her practice. She's now practicing violin. Do I want to go in there and, teach her that one day, my love, one day you'll find the flow state? If I just by creating that by having that psychic impression in myself of what it's going to mean when she gets there, it affects literally every moment of our interaction. Every single moment of interaction with her, at the violin or not at the violin, has that character to it. And God knows if that's not something I want to impose on her psyche. But to not impose it, I have to free myself from it. I have to get myself out of the conundrum of perceiving it that way and seeing it that and needing it to mean that about me. Because if I need it to mean that about me, that's just like taking just stamp it right on her forehead. That's what she's gonna receive. So there's a whole bunch of stuff kind of showing up around that is really that I'm just really grateful for. And these couple days have been a great time to spend a little time in silence, watch this stuff come up, and connect with some really, really profound insights. So thank you to Bill and I have to, I'm just grateful to to everybody who was involved in making this happen. It's been really great for me. So, thank you. Appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow.